Another really close one, I think. Tonight, we watched X-Men Apocalypse, followed up
Mhm.
by the
Masterpiece.
1966 Batman with Adam
A
West.
masterpiece.
Apocalypse.
Unironically.
What can be said about this film? I think it was a bold choice to not include any characters in the movie.
Yeah, it doesn't even remotely live up to its namesake, Apocalypse Meow, the
Yeah.
sequel to Armageddon.
Yeah, man, I love Apocalypse Meow, dude.
Here's the thing with
Yeah.
X-Men Apocalypse, is it's not like, we've watched a lot of bad movies, but it's not even bad in a good way. Like, it's just
Yeah.
kind of there
I don't
the whole
know.
time.
There was a
It's
lot
just
to
kind of
say
there
about
the
it.
whole time.
Well,
I mean, there's
the
always a lot to say about everything.
I feel like
We
a
love
lot of the
talking
Yeah,
stuff
well,
that
fair.
we were
But
saying was about like the X-Men franchise and not
Yeah. That's
specifically
fair, yeah.
how it relates to the
Apocalypse.
franchise and stuff.
There was a
But,
lot to
like,
say
the
about
movie
Man of
itself is
Steel,
just kind
too.
of there.
Yeah. Gosh, yeah. I mean, the film, it's part of the like soft reboot X-Men series with like the younger cast.
Yeah.
And not that this isn't a problem with the film itself, but it's weird to think about it as a singular entity.
Yeah.
Because it's got all these like continuity issues with the films before and after it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like even the ones that in its immediate bubble, like not just, you
Yeah.
know.
I could buy into it doesn't match up to the early 2000s ones, to the first series,
Right.
right?
Sure.
Because they technically reset everything. Like, things changed when they did
Sure.
Days of Future
Although,
Past, right? Like,
I mean, I'm gonna fucking, I mean, I
quote
don't know.
unquote changed or whatever. Like, I could buy that it's not gonna match up to those, but it doesn't even match up to the other ones in its own series, like, in its
Yeah.
own bubble.
Although, I mean, and maybe this is more of a conversation about Days of Future Past, but like
Yeah, it probably is.
they if you change it at a certain point in the timeline, anyone who was born before that wouldn't
Be affected, yeah.
be much
Yeah.
different. Yeah. Which
Yeah.
Well, like,
most
but
of
the
them
events
were.
would be different. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Well, it's yeah. But so that's a conversation for when we watch that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
felt
very
like they knew it was gonna be bad, and they just kept fucking trudging through.
Yeah, well, because there
Yeah.
was the one line in it where like where they walk out of the movie theater and I think it was Jean Grey, but it might have been one of the other characters
It was
goes,
Jean,
"Oh,
yeah.
It was
the
Jean,
third one
yeah.
is always the worst," which is obviously like a jab at X-Men Last Stand, the third one, but this is also the third one in its own trilogy. So like,
Yeah.
do you think just pointing out that it's bad makes it not bad? Like, I don't
Well, do you think that they were like trying to lampshade it, or do you think that they
I
thought
think
they were making a
trying to
good
be tongue
movie?
in cheek, like this third one's
Yeah.
gonna be the best one, while that third
Right.
one wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
But,
just
like,
real rough.
I think
it's not good.
No, and it was a very meandering film. It did not need to
Yeah.
be 2.5 hours long.
Oh,
Gotta
it
say,
didn't.
though,
It did
my,
nothing with 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
my favorite
was-
plot point though is the fucking when Apocalypse, our villain of the movie, does the unequivocally positive thing for the world where he launches all of the world's nuclear arsenal into space and just immediately disarms every country in the entire world. And I'm just like, this is presented like, oh my god, he did this terrible thing, and I'm like, I'm on board for this. I mean, I
Well,
know he's gonna do bad
so-
stuff next,
Yeah.
but
Well, I
this
will
is a very
say,
good thing.
in the context of the film, it's like now, like they don't have the option of nuking him anymore while he does all his
Right.
world conquering.
Like, it's
Sure,
suppo-
but that would have been a bad option almost certainly
Well,
anyway.
the other
Yeah.
thing
So, like,
is, I don't know that just that I don't know that magically disappearing, which is essentially what he did, right? I know he launched them into
Right.
space, but magically disappearing all nukes at once, I don't know that that is a just totally
Well,
unequivocally
they
good
say at the
thing,
end of the
right?
movie,
Because there's
they're like-
definitely people, there's definitely countries that aren't doing things that they would do because nukes exist. And then
like, they
also,
say at the
like,
end of
what
the movie,
about
they're like,
whoever
"Oh, we're building
builds?
more already."
Sorry, what about whoever builds their next nuke the fastest? Like,
Yeah. That's
you
what
know,
they say at
Yeah.
the end of the movie. They literally have a line where they're like, "And they're already rebuilding all of the weapons."
yeah,
Like,
well, because that's the other thing is it's not like Apocalypse like removed the knowledge of how to build nukes from humanity's
Yeah.
heads.
sure,
Like,
yeah, but
it's supposed to be this, like, because his whole thing in the movie is supposed to be like mutants against regular people, right? Of that, like mutants are his quote unquote children, and everyone
Yeah.
else can kick rocks. Um, and so he's just like taking away regular people weapons, which are the nukes, I guess. But what's interesting is he does that. He's supposed to be like connecting to the mutants, right? So presumably every single nuke was controlled by mutants? Question mark.
No, because he's connected. You can connect to anyone through Cerebros.
Yeah.
He connected to
Okay. Yeah.
all the regular
Yeah.
humans.
Cerebro is it's a thing that
Cerebro, yeah.
enhances Professor X's
Sorry, Cerebros is a
powers.
transformer.
Yeah. But
The other thing too is like,
Yeah.
man, it would have been cool if Apocalypse was a character, right?
Yeah,
I
really.
like they don't have to do him the same way as in the comics, right?
Yeah.
But just that one thing that Jenica just pointed out, like, what if he like, right? Because he's like, oh, the mutants are my children, and the humans are like pieces of
Yeah.
trash who've been
which is also
evolved,
me fully reading
out
into
of
the like 4 things that he said in the whole movie.
Yeah,
they're
really.
it's survival of the fittest, and they're not the fittest. We are, right? But
Yeah.
like, so what if like,
Yeah.
what if he like
It's,
really
like,
cared
classic.
about, like, what if he was just killing like non-mutants indiscriminately, and then
Yeah.
he was purposely avoiding like mortally wounding mutants, even ones that he had
Yeah.
to fight. Like, wouldn't that
Yeah.
be interesting? Like,
It would be.
if he was like,
Yeah,
and
that
then
would be like
it would
a
explain why
thing.
like our characters are up against this super powerful, ruthless guy, and they're not being just killed, right?
Right.
Yeah.
If he specifically is like,
Well,
no,
and
they'll
also,
they'll
like,
come around, they'll come around.
Why
Like,
people would be on his side.
yeah, and then like,
Like,
and then in the
absolutely
end of the
explains why people
film,
would be on his side.
things can get so tough that he starts like maybe turning on his
Right.
principles, and it's like, well, he's a villain,
Yeah.
like.
Because you only have to then honestly, you only have to turn on one mutant, and all of a sudden,
Yeah,
like, that's enough of a reason for everybody to fight against him. But
Yeah.
but
I mean, it was a little unclear. Like, I wasn't really totally. I mean, with Magneto, it seemed like he just convinced him, but with the other ones, it didn't really seem like. It kind of just seemed like he took them over, didn't it?
well, with
They even gave Magneto the cop out of they were like, you're only bringing out his rage and suffering, and it's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
he's Magneto. He can just agree.
Yeah.
Right.
and also, yeah, it was really strange because they didn't explain any of Apocalypse's powers in the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
And
no.
they aren't the same ones. I mean, some of them are the same, but they aren't the same ones from the comic. So even as like a comic
Yeah.
fan, it's not like you understand what's occurring.
I think the
He doesn't even
only
have like a
thing-
definite list of powers. It's literally just
Yeah.
whatever is convenient
Whatever.
for the scene.
Yeah.
The
to-
only
yeah.
thing they explained
Yeah.
with him is that he can jump bodies to keep living, and that when he does and takes over a new mutant's body, he adds their power to his collection.
Yeah, so
That's
he
all they said, but
brings
they
So,
don't
all his
say
powers
what
with
his
him.
collections are.
Well,
Right,
that's.
like, they
I
don't
mean,
mention,
that's kind of
like-
fair. Like,
Yeah, so like,
you know.
yes, I'm fine with them having like having like an amalgamation of power. Like, that's not
Yeah.
a problem. When they say like, oh, you add, he's basically collecting people.
Yeah.
his
I mean,
powers,
Well,
right?
the problem
Which is
if
why it
that's-
was so bad for him to take over
If
Professor
that's-
X.
The problem is
then
that if he
He
can
would
just
have his
do
power too.
anything at any moment, there's no
Yeah.
stakes, right?
Right.
Yeah,
So
right.
that kind of stuff where he just like pulls a power out of his butt needs to all happen in like the first 2 acts of the film.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
can't
right.
keep happening like during the climactic battle, right?
Well, because
Right.
then it just ends up being like a plot crutch, basically, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
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 And I
Well,
mean,
so-
it's not even ideal for that to be happening during the first 2 acts, but that's when it is more okay, right? Because it's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Well,
like
like, and
why
they
would
could've
he
fixed
before
it
this moment explain
so
that he has the
easily.
power to breathe underwater, right? Like
I think that kind of goes to like how I was saying while we were watching it, as someone who hasn't watched any X-Men movie, but I know like because of social media and just being alive and
Yeah.
present during those times, like who some of these main characters are.
mhm.
But there was really no any sort of character introduction or character
yeah.
movement, I feel like.
Yeah.
Especially as someone who doesn't know some of these characters who literally just fly in and then fly out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
it's
no
almost like-
explanation.
Sort of feels like every single role in the movie is a cameo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a little bit.
Which feels awkward.
So like
Yeah.
I think we were
Angel
using
have like 4 lines.
Yeah.
barely.
Maybe.
I
Yeah.
think we were using Jean Grey as like a primary example because she is a character who's pretty in the forefront of the film. Not a ton,
Yeah.
but more than a lot of
Yeah.
characters. And it's like she's introduced in this movie as far as this like soft reboot series of X-Men is concerned. And like we don't
Yeah.
know anything about her personality or her wants or
They
needs or goals
I
or
don't
her
even think that they
beliefs.
fully said what her powers are.
Just
Like, I
psychic
know who
stuff is what
Jean
they
Grey
said.
is.
Yeah.
Right, but they don't really, like they don't even say the words telekinetic and
No,
telepathic.
I wouldn't have
You
known
know what I
unless you
mean?
guys told me.
And
Yeah.
that's
He was
like
melting
it's
paintings at one point.
3 words, to
Right.
say to then
Which
explain what her powers are. Like, it's not hard to
But
right,
like
which like
especially because we're
part of
having a new
me,
character meet her on screen. Like, we're
yeah, which
having the
like
new we have Scott meet her on screen, and they couldn't have her tell him stuff,
right,
like,
and it,
they have the convenience that right there.
and like part of me is like, well, okay, it's part of a franchise. The character's been introduced before, but since this is also kind of like a soft reboot, and this is the first time we're meeting this
Yeah.
Gene, it probably would have made a ton of sense to rehash that a little bit
well, the other
because
thing
like
is I
yeah,
think that could be like I don't think it would make the writing good, but that could be an excuse for not explaining the powers.
yeah,
But it's
Yeah.
not an excuse for not like
Having
using
her
the
on a
writing
character.
to let us know what this character thinks and wants and feels. Like
right, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely,
like I couldn't tell you anything about her except that she has psychic powers and has trouble controlling them. But like I
Right.
don't
yeah,
know how she feels about that or what she thinks is good and bad, like I don't know anything about her. And the same is
Yeah.
true for all of the characters in the film. It's not just
yeah.
Jean.
Every
Like
quite
Um
the
literally every single one.
only one who gets like an ounce of stuff is like, oh, you can tell that Quicksilver is preoccupied with like how to handle the information that Magneto is his father, and
yeah.
even
Right.
that is like
And then
Barely.
really a
like
bit
I
of
feel
a
like
reach,
still very
you know?
random.
Magneto has
Yeah,
like a little bit in the beginning, right? Because he like his family dies and he's sad
yeah,
about that, which like
Yeah.
obviously anyone would be, but like it's at least good that we know he's sad about the death of his family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's more than we know about other people.
also that
What's
like
wild
I don't know,
is
you can't have a good like feeling about the death of his family when the method of the death of his family was
Was
just
it
some dude accidentally firing a bow and
Yeah.
arrow
yeah, it's
when he
Through two
Fucking
people.
wild.
so we won't this I don't think is going to come up much in the superhero movie tournament. But pay attention. Movies, people who make movies, they have no idea that it takes a lot of strength and effort to keep a bow
Yeah.
drawn.
yeah,
Like
It's hard.
it's not like bows are treated a lot in movies like guns, right? It's like the gun is cocked
yeah,
and now it's cocked. It's like the bow's drawn and now it's drawn. But it's like no. You're holding back like tens of pounds of pressure.
yeah, yeah.
It's not easy to do. Like
Yeah.
Th-
And also
Though
they
I
could
will
have
say,
fixed it so easy. Ready? Okay, so the birds are attacking. He's going to shoot a bird. Oh no, he misses
right.
yeah,
and
And then he
sure.
accidentally hits
panics
a
Yeah.
and
child.
fires his not
Like,
He,
gun.
he like literally looked like he was like looking in the other
he was like not
direction,
even
like he
looking at
didn't
them.
know. He
He
didn't
wasn't like
know that he
actively
was like
firing. Yeah.
right,
Yeah,
yeah. And it's just
it's
like one thing that I did notice though, which is a little bit counter to what Eddie just said, is like something that they do a lot in movies with bow and arrows is they have them like shoot super straight, whereas when you actually shoot a bow and arrow, the bow like vibrates in the air and like wiggles. And I was surprised that they had that detail in there, whereas where the like the arrow actually like swayed
it
in the
moves through
air.
the air like an arrow. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it was like, but it was clear that it's just like, oh, that scene was written with them holding guns, and then someone on the last day of was like rereading the script and was like, wait, if they were holding guns, couldn't Magneto just, you know, take them away? And they're like, oh shit. Well, they thought of that too, so let's have them hold bows and arrows, and it'll all be the same.
Yeah, it's
God
That's how it
wild.
damn,
felt.
dude.
One
But,
arrow through two people. Very small arrow, no real head on it.
yeah,
Well,
right.
it
Instantly
couldn't.
Well,
fatal.
no metal, no
Instantly
metal
fatal
head.
to
It's
two
just
people.
sharp
It was just a
wood.
sharpened like
Yeah.
shaft
Oh,
of
it could have been
wood.
Instantly
a
fatal to
could have been a
two
stone
people.
arrowhead.
Like, you could have maybe I can give you maybe the kid, right? Maybe you
Yeah.
hit something
It would have like
important. She bleeds
punctured a
out super
lung.
fast. Yeah, maybe, but
Yeah,
both.
but like
Maybe
you
she
can
was a
live through
particularly
that.
skinny girl. She controlled bones. Maybe she had, or she controlled bones. She
She
controlled
controlled.
birds. Maybe,
Birds,
Bro,
maybe
what a
Maybe she
she
animals,
had
had
yeah.
bird
really
bones.
what a
brittle bird bones.
terrifying
Yeah.
mutant power. I have the
Yeah.
ability to control bones.
Bones. I think there's a Naruto
mean,
villain with
Fuck,
that
that'd be
power.
cool.
Yeah,
That's
his
kind of
name,
what
dude. His
Magneto
name
Fuck.
is
does to.
Bones McGee,
Fuck.
the character in Boruto's dad, Bones McGee.
Right.
Oh
That's kind of
man,
what
Wait, wait.
No
Magneto does
joke
to
though, that
Wolverine.
would be a
So
sick mutant power. I'd be so down
So
for
you
that.
guys, you were telling me that Wolverine's bones are metal, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
Shouldn't
yeah.
Yes.
he have been like sucked up in like the metal vortex?
Maybe he was, dude. Maybe
Maybe he
was.
was.
He
Yeah.
was chilling, trying to get his memories back. Then he's just suddenly
In the
flying through the
woods
air.
somewhere.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
don't see him after that point in the movie, so he might have just been like flying around screaming the whole time, and he
Yeah.
heals, so he would have been fine.
He would have been fine, yeah.
Yeah, that. You know what? Canon. That happened.
Yeah, fuck.
Y'all
That's good.
remember
You
that
gotta,
one panel that he did at some convention where he wore his actual Wolverine costume with like his real props to just
oh
walk
yeah,
around the con before his panel.
Cool.
And he got 2 comments from people, and one of them was some dude just walked up to him, looked him up and down, and said, "Too tall," and walked on.
That's pretty funny.
That's funny.
Yeah, I think that's hilarious.
Well, he is. He's Hugh Jackman's like 6 foot something.
He's a
Yeah,
big
he is
guy.
too tall to be Wolverine. Yes.
Yeah. So, X-Men Apocalypse, not the best film I've ever seen.
I will say
No.
positives. I do love the Quicksilver bomb sequence. It doesn't
yeah.
make sense in the
Although,
rest of the movie. You can't
right,
watch it
yeah,
in context at all, but it's a cool like 2 or 3 minutes of some funny
Some funny stuff to some
super
good
speed.
music. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
super
It
speed
makes for
bits
a very
to
nice
music. Yeah.
music video,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
It
in
makes
the
a great
context of the
music
movie, it
video.
does not work. I don't think.
Yeah,
not
it's
really.
it like
But
comes out of,
really,
it comes out of
But
nowhere, kinda.
it's a great thing. Yeah.
That's frankly more of the rest of the movie's fault, because if they
Right.
wanted to do that shit, they should have just warped the entire movie around that scene to make it make sense.
And
Well, it's
honestly,
also-
Because they
it
would
would have
not have
been a
been
better
losing
movie.
much.
It's
Yeah.
it's also weird because maybe I'm remembering incorrectly, but in Days of Future Past, right? Like when time slows down, he's moving at normal speed, and when time is normal speed, he's moving super fast. But in this movie, time was slowed down and he was moving super
does.
fast.
Yeah. So
It
he's
was-
just moving faster.
Like so like it like most
Yeah.
of the sequence he was moving normal speed, but then like other times like time was slowed down, but he was still going zip 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 zip. And it was like,
Yeah.
guys,
He's moving really, really
he's
fast.
yeah, he's moving
Yeah.
super duper ultra fast, I guess. Which then brings into question any time that he doesn't do that when it would,
Yeah.
you know, help
Yeah.
to stop a bad
Like,
guy or save his own
listen,
life.
The very
not
next
saying the
scene
scene
when the
makes
bad
sense.
guys get the drop, when Stryker's team gets the drop on them and knocks him out, I'm just like, okay, but that whole sequence with them walking up with this giant like sonic
Yeah.
cannon or whatever happened in more time than that entire explosion would have happened, and you took your sweet time with that, bud. So
Yeah.
I'm not saying it makes sense. It's just fun to watch.
it is just
For
cool.
two
No, I
minutes.
agree with you.
It's just
Yeah.
that it
Despite the
And
fact,
even
I
the
will
like
say his
best part
powers are
of
better in this one than they were than the bullshit Quicksilver and Ultron. So
yeah, I'm just saying even the best part of the movie is like also kind of bad and doesn't make sense.
yeah, you're
Oh, yeah.
100%
But
right.
I
And
do-
yet,
so
I would like to point
Just-
out, still better than Man of Steel.
yeah.
So does he just have like a playlist on his iPod of like songs that are just like
Maybe it's just sped up.
like played it really, really fast?
Yeah.
His
It's
1983 iPod.
Yeah.
All right.
not
Any
a great
last
movie.
thoughts on Apocalypse?
It was it was an overwhelming amount of self-referential humor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was,
It was
it was an overwhelming amount
so
of
painful.
self-reference.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call any of it humor.
Well, the
I
attempt.
wouldn't call
was
any of it
there,
funny, but
right?
it is humor.
Oh,
It's
another
just
thing
bad.
we talked about during the movie, and I mean, this isn't a negative of the film specifically, right? Because you could do this and a movie be good, but like a lot of the character designs like are not similar at all to the like comics or to
Well,
the
yeah.
The ones that
other
are similar
X-Men
to the
movies.
comics. Yeah, and then the ones that are similar to the comics stand out like a sore thumb because of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Like
like
Psylocke's costume just doesn't make any fucking sense
yeah.
because nobody else
feel
is
like
dressed
just
like that. Nobody else is in the spandex nonsense. Everybody else has like the armor plates and the generic battle suits or like the
yeah,
interesting makeup. And Psylocke is just there in a spandex fucking
It's
jumper
very
Yeah.
not
in a
even in like
strange.
fucking
a
in a
Yeah.
fucking
leotard,
yeah, in a fucking leotard
thighs
with
out.
an unnecessary garter belt and
Yeah,
like it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
they needed to commit to an aesthetic, and
Oh, and
they did not.
also Jennifer Lawrence I think is a perfectly serviceable actor. I think it's pretty clear that she doesn't like doing these movies cuz she gives a really bad performance.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And like they cannot stop themselves from making Mystique the main character of these films because they have a big name actor in the role.
which is a shame.
And it's not good for the
Fucking painful.
story, right? Like to have Mystique as the main character, but it's also not good for the quality of your film to have an actor who
Yeah,
doesn't enjoy doing it, presumably,
And also,
as the main
the fact that
character.
she won't do the makeup either, so they just have her be like normal
She's
skin
just Jennifer
herself.
Lawrence
Lawrence
Yeah,
a
most of the
lot,
time.
which
Yeah, it
I'm
seemed
sure
like she
that's a
wouldn't even do
mix
like any
of
other costume. She was just in that t-shirt and leather jacket, which did not look like the 80s either,
Yeah.
for like 80% of the movie.
well with the makeup
yeah,
thing
Which
though. I think some of that is probably because Jennifer Lawrence like notoriously didn't like doing the makeup, but some of it's
yeah.
probably that. I think a lot of it is probably that they want to show her face. You
Yeah.
yes,
see it in like Marvel's like the worst offender with the MCU. Anytime they can take the helmet or mask off, they do, right? Because they're
yeah.
like, we got to show their face. Bang! This is our famous actor, you know, like um
Can you do that one more? Can you take that one
bang,
more time,
famous
Eddie?
actor. That's the money shot. That's,
Thank you.
yeah, of course.
But
Um
yeah, I mean, and also to be fair to Jennifer Lawrence, like they also do this with several other characters in the movie, like
Yeah,
giving, like the Beast has drugs so that he doesn't have to look like Beast most of the
yeah.
and
yeah,
they even for like 90% of the movie we still have Professor X with long flowing hair.
Yep.
It's just
yeah.
like
And
could
it's
we
cuz we
what if we just cast people to do the characters that you want, like
Well, but then
you want to
we
just
can't
write a
have
different movie, guys, like
w-
him losing his hair scene at the
and
end.
yeah,
we need
really.
the
In the
actors to
third
be
movie of the
recognizable as
series?
themselves,
Yeah, in
right?
the third movie of the
Yeah.
series.
Yes, he has now finally lost his hair, and it wasn't that he got old or that he decided to shave it. It was,
Or that he
because of
just, has nail pattern
Apocalypse's mind
baldness or
melding
anything.
Yeah,
power
Apocalypse's fucking Vulcan mind meld made him lose
removes
all his
all your
goddamn
hair
hair.
follicles.
And
Oh,
Well,
it's a shame too because I think that I think like the bald look on James McAvoy, that's his name, right? James
James
McAvoy.
McAvoy, it's pretty good, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
he looks
good.
pretty good as
He's
Professor X
attractive
when
either
he's
way.
bald.
He's a
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
Well, and
attractive
he also
man.
like I don't think James McAvoy has a problem with being bald for the role because like
Yeah.
He's
he
been
shaved
bald in
his
other
head for
stuff.
Split, didn't he?
Yeah,
Like
Yeah.
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 And that
I
movie was
think
a mess.
a big part of this movie is just reinforcing Apocalypse's main power, which is hair and makeup.
Yeah.
He turned Storm's hair white. He gave Psylocke
Yeah.
the purple haired the purple streaks. He
Uh-huh.
got rid of Professor X's hair. He cut Angel's hair at one point, and then also gave him weird face tattoos for no
He
reason.
cut Angel's hair so
Uh-huh.
he would look less like the character Angel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Another power of Apocalypse's is instant character development payoff.
Yeah, true.
Mm.
You don't even like
It's
basically
just fucking Archangel just fucking happens
yeah.
Yeah.
just in an
I,
instant, and it's like there's a whole
said this
there's that's a character, guys.
Again,
I
very
said this
confusing when you
during
have
the
no idea who they are.
I said this during the when we were watching too, but like, man, out of everyone who gets really dicked over from this like universe reboot that happened in Days of Future Past, Angel is like probably the worst off for it
Oh
because
my
like,
god,
Yeah.
yeah.
he didn't have a great life in the original trilogy with his dad being overly controlling, but he comes to a conclusion at the end of it, gets to be a hero. This one, our first introduction to him, he's in like underground like fight clubs, and then he gets like immediately turned into a cyborg and then killed.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
And he speaks about
Real rough
4
for
lines the
him.
whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do get a whole scene of Apocalypse weirdly caressing him as he gets facial tattoos and armor.
I'm 100% certain that this is because some executive said, "What, his powers wings? That's boring."
Yes.
Even
Well,
the
no, I mean, I think
knives.
it was really just that they wanted to put Archangel in the movie, and like, but the issue with the X-Men movies is that they don't really let the characters have their time to shine as the characters they're supposed to be before they have like their evil turn or whatever. It's like every time they do Jean Grey, like they at least gave it a few movies in the original trilogy, but it's just like we really gotta get back to Dark Phoenix for another time. It's just like, or like, why don't you just let Jean be Jean for a while, and then maybe
Mhm.
down
Yeah.
down
I
the line
wonder-
you can do Dark Phoenix
The
once you've earned it.
X-Men
Like,
I wonder if
films.
they know it's because their movies are bad, and so they know that
Yeah.
they're not going to get enough to actually do that.
We
Well,
got
but
4
the
of
thing
these.
is that they could make the movies good, and then they like would get more.
Right, but
They don't
listen,
take
Eddie, they don't have
take their
talent.
time is the thing, right?
Yeah.
Especially the like reboot series. They're like,
Yeah.
we gotta like hit some of these like big notable things from the comics, and we're not gonna build up to that. We're gonna just go, right? Like,
Yeah. I mean, they pretend that they take their time by making every movie jump 10 years in the timeline, even though none of the actors age. But
Yeah.
you don't actually get that amount of character development out of each character. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, 35-year-old Holocaust survivor Magneto 40 years after the Holocaust.
yeah.
Yep. Love that.
Oh,
All right, so
man.
Batman.
the other film we watched was the 1966 Batman, which was
Boy, was it a good palate cleanser.
It was a movie,
I
like based on, or it was a movie
love this movie.
in the continuity of the Adam West TV show,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
Yes.
Wow. I mean, I'd never seen
So
this one
good.
before.
And aren't
This
you
was a
happy
first.
you have
This was a
now?
first watch for you, Eddie.
Yeah, what a
I'm
film.
good.
It's so fucking
I-
good.
here's
Yeah,
the
just a
thing
nonstop
is-
camp fest. I love
yeah,
it.
it's
This is a childhood
in
favorite
certain
of mine.
respects.
I'll say now.
This film is
And,
also
like-
lacking a number of things that Apocalypse was
Sure.
lacking, but like in a good way somehow, right? Like,
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
like
I mean, not every
in
not
in the
every, like,
context
movie
of the
needs that
comedy
kind of thing.
television show,
yeah,
Batman and Robin do not need character growth in the span of an hour and a half.
which is crazy
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
they definitely don't, and Batman definitely has some.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's a little bit in the back half of the film, but like there's like some dudes, they're just like random nameless thugs that like die, right? And like Batman,
Literally
like,
guinea pig 1 through 5.
yes, yeah, and Batman feels awful about it. Like,
Yeah. And it wasn't even his fault.
no,
Like,
it wasn't his
even
fault. It was
something that he could
Penguin's
have
fault.
prevented.
And he gives this little
Yeah.
solemn speech to Robin, and he's like, "No, Robin, unfortunately, they won't be coming back."
Returning in this universe.
this
yeah.
universe.
Well, he gets all existential about it. It's
Yeah,
great.
dude.
Well, and then there's the look up at the nuclear, or not at the atomic, his atomic charger at the top.
Yeah.
About, and don't mess with Mother Nature. It's a serious moment for the 60s.
Yeah. And then there's like, because he, throughout the film, Catwoman is pretending to be this like Russian reporter, and she goes on a date with Bruce Wayne, and they're hitting it off. He's kind of falling for her a bit. And then at the
Mhm.
end, when he finds out that she was Catwoman the whole time, like he's like heartbroken, man.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It
Holy,
looks at the camera
holy
for, like, a
heartbreak,
full
Batman.
30 seconds with sad French music playing in the background.
Exactly, dude.
What's
and
the
then
song?
he turns back to
Amazing.
Robin, and he's like,
It's the song from when they were dancing on their
I
date.
know, it's
Yeah.
so good.
and then he turns back to Robin, and he's like, "Doesn't matter now. We got to finish the job." And it's like, that's
This is
Batman.
Yeah.
The life
baby.
of a crime fighter.
This is
Exactly.
it. Yeah. It's so fucking
Yeah,
good.
the movie is
This is
it's
a movie that I
ridiculously camp,
love.
and they know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There's stuff
They're
in the movie that
unapologetic about it.
like
The movie really prioritized fun above
was super
every
fun.
single thing else.
everything in the
Yes.
movie is labeled, and it does not get old over the
so
course
good.
over
So
the
good.
It's hilarious the whole time.
over the course of
Mhm.
90 minutes. It does not get old. Every time a new item is brought on screen, and it just has a big
And
sign
labeled.
on it that says like bat particle displacer or whatever. It's
Yeah.
And
just
I
God.
love
perfect
that
every
they
time.
only draw attention to the labels once, and it is perfect.
And you're just you're just
Yeah.
reading every label the rest of the movie. Like
Yeah.
the fireman poles to get to the Batcave, like they're
Mhm.
labeled Dick and Bruce. Like
Mhm.
Yeah.
They're also
So
labeled entrance to
good.
Batcave via Batpole.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Yeah, it's
I
really
also appreciate it was kind of a subtle thing, but the notion that they need to point out the very obviously labeled thing because Penguin's a dumbass.
Yeah.
yes,
It's
yeah.
like, yes, the drinking water is clearly labeled.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
fucking love
You'll
it.
find the drinking water dispenser right behind you, and he turns around, and there's a big old sign.
Says
Drinking
Drinking water
dispenser.
dispenser.
Oh
It
man.
has a
good.
convenient little umbrella hook on it.
A lot of
Yep.
sea animals died.
Three
The
sea animals
noble
died.
porpoise.
Yeah.
Sea animals
At
died.
Normal
least.
The
purpose.
noble off-screen sacrificial porpoise.
Yes.
So fucking good.
It's just, how are we going to get them out of this situation? Well, we don't, but they'll be fine. Porpoise sacrificed itself.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah, and it's again, yeah, the movie, it prioritizes fun. There's a lot of really good comedy that holds up extremely well for being an
Some days you
80-year-old
just
film
can't get rid of a
almost.
bomb.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
It's
You know, some of the comedy actually does read a little bit like
It's
like
it's just
Airplane.
shy of
What is
60.
that? That's what it's called, right? Airplane.
Airplane. Yeah.
Airplane? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it's in that kind of vein in some points.
So fucking funny. It's so good. This
Yeah.
is the movie that I watch and I just smile the entire movie. It's so funny. It's so
Yeah.
good.
There
It is
are
very good.
so like again, I think that this stuff will matter more if it comes up against a better film than Apocalypse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, because there
It's
is
going to.
right. So like, I pointed out during the movie, the Joker is not particularly jokery. He could just be any guy.
Yeah.
He,
I was
he
kind of
does some
surprised that
like hand
Sting was-
magic.
The
Yeah.
Cesar Romero Joker is not like comic book villain Joker. He's just kind of a clown guy,
Yeah.
yeah,
who
he's a
is
clown.
evil.
Yeah.
Like the Joker characterization of like murderous with the gas and the all that stuff it doesn't fit in Adam West Batman even a little.
Yeah.
No, sure.
If they tried to do
Sure,
anything
but-
with it, it would just feel bad.
But he's
So
not
I
like
understand what they did.
he's not even
um,
like the main guy though.
yeah,
Yeah, no,
he's
he's
not
not.
like
Yeah.
No.
telling jokes or like doing little like prop gags.
He does
He
do
does a
the
couple,
like,
buzz
hand
shock thing,
magic
He
right?
does the
stuff,
buzz
yeah.
shock one time, and is that
He does
it?
that one.
No,
he does
did
the he does the
Day
pill
his
from
hands.
his sleeve.
He did
He does the
he did a couple
flowers.
things. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just it's kind of like few and far between. And also, I
He has
just
the
mean in like his
Springtrap.
mannerisms.
Yeah, he doesn't do much. Yeah.
But Penguin, I think, is like very penguiny.
So good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Catwoman is good too.
Yeah.
Riddler is so. He also could kind of just be a dude.
I mean, he
Yeah.
is definitely obsessed with leaving the clues.
Yes.
Leaving the clues. Yeah.
And what he's there to make it a puzzle instead of like a
Sure,
trap.
but-
And they do reinforce that a couple times.
You only
That
see it
he's there
though.
for the game.
You only see it though in like the skywriting, which you don't even see him like present
And
that
he
or come up
leaves-
with it. You know, it's just
Yeah,
like,
he
oh,
leaves
that must have
notes,
been a
too.
riddle. In the same way that there's a joke there, that must have been the Joker. Whereas like
Yeah.
you don't actually see them revel in that much.
Yeah.
I'm with Eddie on this. I think that both of them are a little bit like
Yeah.
the Riddler's like. I guess with the Joker, it just feels like you would expect the Joker to be like the one in charge. I think
the
even if he's
ringleader.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have as a modern audience a very specific idea of what the Joker and the Riddler
Yeah.
should be.
Yeah, that's true.
And in a more joking setting and in a setting with less rigid characterization of them, they just they put them there and they were like, the Riddler has questions and the Joker is a clown.
Yeah.
Sure.
And
I
that's
don't
just
know
what they
that-
had to work with.
Yeah, I guess what I am saying is like I don't know that actually is counter to what Jeff and I are pointing out.
Yeah.
Because I think that with those same stipulations, they could have done more, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
again, like Penguin and Catwoman are like I think up to par, right?
Yeah, like every
Yeah.
line they say has like 3 penguin or cat respectively puns in it, you know?
Yeah.
It's just like, and every time the penguin walks around, he's waddling, he's got a big pointy nose, like every sound out of
Yeah.
his mouth is like, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Like he's a lot more cartoonish than you'd expect the Joker to be, like, you know, in a
And
normal
the
series.
the
Yeah.
Riddler and the Joker, like it does a little bit feel like they're there for the plot, and
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
they didn't have like a lot of idea of what to have the characters doing in the dialogue scenes.
Yeah.
Because the film is almost entirely plot driven. It's not very character driven at all.
Nope.
Except just a little bit with like the Bruce Wayne and Kitka stuff.
Yeah.
But it's almost entirely plot driven, which is fine. But the characters take a back seat, and I think that'll maybe matter in future rounds if this film moves on. Hey, I have to
Yes,
be
when we
neutral at
compare
this
it
at
to-
this juncture,
when
okay?
we compare
Fuck.
it to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1990, we
It'll
will
be an
have to think
interesting
about
night.
those things, I'm sure.
But yeah, the film is so funny. I feel like I've been talking a lot though, so other people should say stuff.
It feels like there is a lot to say about Batman 1966, but most of it is covered by just, it is so incredibly fun. All
Yeah.
the people on screen are having fun while also
Yeah.
not like, looking at the camera and winking. Like the script is okay. I'm going to say what I said a number of times during the film. They just keep saying things and they keep being awesome.
Yeah.
And it
There's so
just
many
Wait, what is
quotable
what is the
moments.
what is
None
the
of-
line about the like, oh, this rectangle, they're like the sum of
the-
the angles
the
of
sum
this
of the angles of this
rectangular
rectangle is too catastrophic to
Or to-
contemplate or something.
yeah, or something, or
And
too
it's just like
monstrous
that
to
doesn't
contemplate.
mean
It's like,
anything.
Yeah.
That slap.
it's like,
It's
hey,
so
bud,
good.
it's always going to be the same thing if you're adding up the sum of the angles of a rectangle. It's never not 360.
Mhm.
It's just so stupid, but it's really
we
great.
went back and we listened to it
good.
twice, not because we
Yeah.
thought it was dumb, but because we thought it was great.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's
well,
the other.
it's
slaps
both.
so
It's
hard.
both.
Yeah, it's
But they-
dumb, and that's
they
part of what
lean-
makes it great
Yeah.
because it feels like
done-
it's dumb on
oh.
purpose.
So good.
Also, like
They
the
lean
like
very hard into the like alliteration, into
Yeah.
just really like fun language, and I think that's what makes it good. Is that it's what they're saying doesn't make sense, but it sounds so good. Like
Yeah.
The Shakespeare bust hiding the
Yeah.
entrance to
Yes,
the Batcave
that's
is very much on
amazing.
purpose.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Because
Well, he
the way
quotes-
they're
he
talking
quotes
is
shit,
very
yeah.
much like Shakespeare.
Yeah, he does
Yeah.
monologue. He does do a few like, you know,
Little
he
soliloquies.
quotes
Especially when
like an
he's-
Edgar Allan Poe poem.
yeah.
Yeah.
And like they talk
Yes.
almost lyrically. They've got all the alliteration
It's
in it.
beautiful.
It's very well done. The
Yeah.
script is amazing. You can tell that nobody was sitting there being like, I have to be the funniest person in this stage. It's just-
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
they were there to make a very fun movie, and they trusted the writers, and the writers trusted the actors.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
set design was always great, partially because of the signs, but also it was also crowded, and it was also obviously handmade, but it works so well.
No, you could tell that like whoever was, whatever team was working on the sets were excited to like fill them with like
Yeah.
all these
Yeah.
little things.
Cool shit.
Like
Mhm.
you because it's like a bunch in the
it's so good.
background that's never like addressed as part of the plot or anything like that. It's
The
just like
assorted
stuff that is
confetti
noticed.
cabinet.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
'Cause they
Also,
literally,
my
I bet you
God.
they just said,
I like how there's a shelf in like the villain base that says questions.
Yeah.
yeah, it's the Riddler shelf, and
Yeah.
then there was jokes and penguin
bait.
food.
Yeah,
Penguin
penguin
food,
bait.
yeah.
But
Oh,
you can
man.
tell that they just
God.
said to a
That
bunch of
had
stage
two
hands,
rather
"Hey, have
large
fucking
live
fun."
fish in it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's penguin food.
The other
so good.
yeah, if I had to like levy another kind of criticism, Batman and Robin like hardly interact with the villains
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fair.
throughout the film. They're almost entirely interacting with their like traps and like schemes while the villains are like remote, like watching.
Yeah, it
Which is
sort of
not
feels
like
That's how the TV show went.
sure, it's not
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
bad thing. It's just kind of like it would have been like, because I think that's part of it is like Joker and Riddler are characters that are gonna come out more strongly when they're like
Yeah.
interacting with Batman.
Yeah,
And they don't really
definitely.
do that. And I think that's why those
That's
ones
fair.
take a back seat to Penguin and Catwoman.
Yeah.
Which are
feel
very
like
much like schemers.
this movie is predominantly Penguin scheming. Like the
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
villains were just like helping him. So of course I feel like yeah, I definitely think Joker and Riddler could have had more like quips in their lines, but it was a predominantly Penguin mission.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
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 Well, he's the one that's easiest to build that stuff around because
mhm.
he's got his pirate henchmen and like he's rich so he can do all the things and like he doesn't need to theme all the stuff past being at the ocean.
Yeah.
Right. Or
Aside from his
having a
giant,
penguin painted on it or
Penguin
something.
submarine.
with the giant flippers on the back
That
that are
was so
that are
funny.
So
actively
good.
moving.
His gadgets and that was amazing.
Yeah.
He even renamed the
his
Batmobile
umbrella-
very briefly.
The like
Um,
umbrella flying contraptions.
Yeah.
So good.
I would recommend, if you haven't seen this movie, for someone to watch it.
10,000%.
It is a great time.
Yeah. For
Yeah,
viewers of all ages.
absolutely.
Some
This
days
is a movie,
you just
like-
can't get rid of a bomb.
You can.
Some days you
Yeah.
can't.
You do
This is a
find out
movie
that
I
Alfred's
watched.
a little bit of a pervert, though.
And that's
He
so
is a little
funny.
bit.
He's a bit of a horn dog, man.
It's
Yeah.
not really what they were going for, but that is what happened.
no,
That's
it
how it came out,
definitely
yeah.
is what they were going for.
That
But, like-
scene where Robin's like, you know, oh, it's like, I know we're supposed to watch, but this just seems a little too much. And Alfred goes, oh, yeah.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
for
He's
sure.
like stuttering, like,
It's so good.
He was like, "Yeah, Bruce, kiss her, do it." Like,
Yeah.
he's like, yes, Master Wayne, get some
God.
ass.
all right.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I was
Um,
really uncomfortable with horny Bruce Wayne, who was just like, whenever
Yeah,
she
I
was
didn't like
talking,
it
was like
very
an
much.
inch
Yeah.
away from her face, staring directly at her cheek, and I'm just like, okay, bud, all right, maybe calm down a little bit.
Very much.
We've all been
It was
there.
Did give us
very
those
much.
shots
He's
of Catwoman
lonely.
being very uncomfortable with what she had to be doing there.
Yeah,
because
really.
He's
Very
lonely.
good, like, acting. It was very well done.
So, final thoughts on Batman.
This is a
Good.
like
Love it.
top 10 favorite movie of mine. I used to watch this as a kid. It doesn't get it gets better every rewatch, let me tell you that. I used to watch this maybe like once a week for years. Like I love this movie. Could quote most of it, like
You did, in fact.
I did. I tried not to really hard, but some of them are too
Yeah,
much
if
for
you
me.
can watch the movie with Jenica, I'd say do that
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. It's so good. Watch it again. Let's watch it again right now.
Well, before we do that, we've got to do, the
Yeah.
ceremonial.
got a job.
We get it. We got a job to
We got
do.
a job.
you
Yes,
know?
the purely perfunctory voting for this week.
All right. Evie, why don't you kick us
She
off?
doesn't get to vote.
Oh yeah. Evie missed the first
Yeah.
movie. Whoops. I'll just kick us off. I'm gonna vote for, and I think this will be a shock, Batman.
Yeah.
I'm gonna vote for Batman.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Also gonna vote for Batman.
I'm gonna take the dark horse pick here, and I'm gonna vote for Steel, starring Shaquille O'Neal.
So that's
No,
a
I'm gonna
fourth
vote for Batman. Obviously, gonna vote for Batman. That movie's
Yeah.
awesome.
Chris is not gonna let us live down
Let's
knocking
go
out
down.
Steel starring Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah, I just love it. It was in the sea. Sea for Catwoman.
Woman.
I'm gonna vote for Batman.
Oh
And of
man.
course, I am also voting for Batman.
All right. Well,
What's yellow and
Batman
bright's a ballpoint banana.
1966 is moving on
Oh,
to
fuck.
round 2, and it is going to be.
Nobody's surprise.
I
Yeah.
think this is the first time that we have found out a round 2 matchup. It is going to be against Ninja Turtles from the 1990.
That's gonna be rough.
It's gonna be a really good night, but it's gonna really suck to knock
That's
either of
gonna be
those
a tough
films
Either of
out.
them
matchup. I'm
out,
I'm looking
yeah.
forward to it in like a year.
I think those are gonna be the first 2 movies that will be, like, a good and direct comparison other than The Crow
Yeah,
and The Crow
really.
2.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they're
Yeah.
gonna have a lot of things similar about them, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So looking forward to that. Everybody, thanks for coming out tonight. I'm gonna stop this recording. Welcome back to the outro. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button to continue following the tournament, and thank you so much for watching this episode. If you have thoughts on X-Men Apocalypse or Batman, feel free to share them in the comments. And since we're at the end of the video, here's a fun fact. The average Rotten Tomato critic score for all the films in the tournament is 60%.